Before we get started, I'm just going to explain what this tutorial is and what this tutorial is not. This tutorial is a way to figure out how to add anger levels to your API.ai project from Mr. Sigalski's. It is not, I repeat, it's not a tutorial on how to use API.ai. API.ai is something that's pretty well established. It has a bunch of help forums. It has a bunch of documentation. You should be able to figure it out yourself. When you first sign up an account for it, it actually walks you through pretty much everything that you need in order to do this. So what I'm going to be showing you is how to incorporate my little piece of code, which is not very well documented, is not something that's well established, and incorporate it into something that is, something that you can use. So with that cleared up, what we're going to do first is click this button here. If you don't know what site this is the GitHub link that's probably going to be in email or description or Drive document. It'll be somewhere that you can access it because this is pretty much the home base for everything. But again, so click this button, try to open it in a new tab, and what you're going to see is probably not this screen. That's because you haven't created an account yet. Just go ahead and create an account. There's only one question that should give you trouble. That's like what programming language you use. It doesn't matter what you choose, but if you want to choose Node.js, that's kind of what this is built on. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just kind of like a survey question. But yeah, once you have that account, click that button again, because it probably won't work the first time if you didn't have an account. And now you should be able to see this page if you're logged in. So what you want to do is type in an app name. For this demonstration, I already have this app running, so I don't need to type it in, but name it something like Kaiser AI, something unique, like our group's name or whatever, AI. Doesn't matter, because as long as it's available, it'll work. Then make sure this is United States, and then click deploy. It should take a little bit for it to set up, but once it's done, you should be able to see like a view button right here. Click that view button, it'll open up the app, and it should just say test in the top left corner. But the important thing here is just to copy that URL, because we're going to need it to set up API.ai. So in API.ai, you're going to go to your agent. For this one, I'm just going to create a new agent called Kaiser3, because guess what? This is take 2. I already had one earlier. But yeah, I'm just going to create a new intent. If you already have one, I'll show you how to set it up. It'll be the same instructions with your current API.ai. But anyways, you're going to go into fulfillment, because this is basically what this is. What my app does is serve as a webhook, which you don't have to understand what it means, but basically it extends the functionality of API.ai. Sorry about that, API.ai. So what you want to do is going to type in the URL that you copied from here, and at the end of it, type webhook. Now, if you don't know how to spell that or kind of like nervous about doing it, it says right here in the instructions how to do it. So once you got that typed in, just click enable webhook for all domains, because why not? And then click save. So what you're going to do next is go into your intents, and you should already have intents set up. Again, this is not a tutorial on how to use API.ai. You can figure that out yourself. It's really simple. But anyways, you're going to create an intent. For this one, we're just going to be United Kingdom. And this is where, if the user types that in, it'll go here. I don't want to set up. So once they type in United Kingdom, they'll do all this stuff here. So we want to respond to that as saying, I hate them, because remember, from the point of view from Kaiser Wilhelm, so obviously he didn't like the UK. So that's just kind of a default response. Obviously your responses should be a little bit more detailed, and your questions should be actual questions. But again, I'm just showing you really quickly how to set this up. So now the important part here is the parameters section. What we're going to want to do is, as for an example, this is something you're going to do for pretty much every question and answer. You're going to go down to the parameter chart here and copy the first 2 things in the trigger section. You're going to type in trigger and type in this thing here, which basically means that this value is going to be a number, which kind of helps me a lot. As you can see, the values, I recommend -10 to 10. The basic overview of this is that you're going to start off with having like a temperament value of 10. And if it raises up to 20, Kaiser Wilhelm is going to say, oh, I don't want to go to any war anymore because I'm so happy. And if it lowers down to 0, that's basically the exact opposite. He's going to declare war because he's very angry. And so we can actually change this from the default value of 10 by putting in a value here of like -2 to decrease it by 2, or 2 to decrease it by 1. Well, since we know that the United Kingdom, he didn't really like that, we're going to make this a negative value. So let's say, for demonstration purposes, -3. Again, it can be from -10. Oh, one second. It can be anywhere from -10 to 10. It can exceed that, but already at -10 and at 10, that means you instantly win or lose the game if you're just at the default starting position. So I recommend doing something a little bit less than that. So next, just to finish it up, you're going to click fulfillment, and this is probably the most important part. You're going to click use webhook, because without clicking that, you're not going to be able to have that functionality. This is literally going to mean nothing. Don't click use webhook for slot filling. You don't need that. So click save. And now if we type in United Kingdom, you should see that it says I hate them. So it's a response that we have here. And then it gives you these 2 extra sentences on top of whatever you put in here. The first sentence basically says whether it was a negative or positive value to the user, which won't be able to see this. And the second sentence kind of tells you contextually if it's super angry, super not. So right now it's kind of a little bit broken. That's because that's the reason why you have to develop your own, because each team does need to have their own Heroku, because otherwise stuff like this will happen and it'll bleed over. Because right now it's kind of doesn't it kind of remembers that in my previous video we already kind of made it angry. So let's see how we can fix that. We're going to fix that by creating something that every app should have, and that's a reset or restart intent. So just create something like that. Under parameter naming, and you're going to go back here. This is your reference. This is kind of like, I don't know, thing that you should always refer to first before doing anything else. So we're going to copy these parameters word for word, since this time we don't have an option to change the value or customize it, because it's just a reset value. Like, how are you going to customize that? So reset, the parameter name was entity. I think it's sys.any. That means it can be any value. And then this is just going to be R. If it's anything else, it's not going to work. Text response, we're going to say successfully reset. And then for fulfillment, again, if we want it to work with Pilsudski, you're always, I can't stress that enough, you're always going to want to click this. Click save. And okay, good. Now if we do reset, say it's successfully reset. So back then we had like a really angry answer, but it didn't make sense because we only put it at -3. Now we have kind of like a more modest answer, like your words are not appreciated. And as you add more and more of these attempts, and as you set up the values for more and more of them, eventually he'll become more and more angry if you keep telling him stuff that he doesn't like, or he'll get more and more happy as you tell him stuff that he does. So yeah, that's the basic overview. Hopefully that was understandable enough. I mean, it's kind of late, and I want to go to sleep. Yeah, if you have any questions, please talk to me. I highly recommend that you look at the API.ai docs and forum. They help a lot in terms of like helping you getting started. As you can see here, they've got like seriously easy tutorials how to do any of this stuff. So if you need help with API.ai, I really recommend you do that. But if you find that something isn't working with this portion of it, with the parameters and stuff like that, please let me know, because I'd love to fix any bugs that I can find. But yeah, so don't use this third one. It's not going to work. Don't try. But yeah, the instructions and configuration are here if you need a reference and you don't want to listen to a 10-minute video again. But I think that's it. So if you're an advanced user, this is kind of like the epilogue. There's actually some options for you. Now, it's not as hard as you think. What you're gonna do is fork it, but obviously you can't. Um, or clone it yourself and then deploy with Heroku if you know how to do that. But if you fork it, it's gonna be interesting. Basically, you're gonna have to have like some knowledge on how to use Heroku, stuff like that. I don't think I have the time to really make a really in-depth tutorial, but I did add this config.json object, which you can use to kind of change basically the fundamentals of the game. So if you're more advanced, if you know how to use GitHub and stuff like that, which I'm not sure how many of you do, but if you do, you can edit this file and you can change like the default responses. Everything is in here. Really nice. But yeah, just going through it. Anything that starts with 2 underscores is just a comment. Ignore it. Just kind of like helps you explain it. But in the setup portion here, in the setup block, you have start temperament, which again, as I said in the video, you start at 10. This is where that number comes from. And your win temperament is 20. So that's what I said again. If you go up to 20, you win. Under responses, you've got the win response, which happens when you get it up to 20. And the lose response, which happens when you go down to 0. Under temperament, you have these 5 different responses depending on the value of the temperament. If you're like a quarter of the way away from winning, you're going to get a really happy temperament. If you're kind of like in the order above the neutral, you're going to be kind of like in that happy section. So it's kind of like very happy. If you're neutral, it's just going to say continue. This is like dead center. You're going to see that. If you're angry, that's kind of like in the bottom 25%, like not bottom most, but like below the neutral, kind of like how happy is. If you get even more angry, you get very angry, and that's like if you're 25 away from losing. And as you can see, the kind of like tone of you. I try to make these setups like the most flexible, but yeah, you want to change it, you know how. Fine. But yeah, currently I don't really have a great system kind of make you change it yourself. I mean, maybe it's just kind of like thoughts now. I could put it in here, change it, but see. So, but yeah, otherwise, right here, good, bad. As I said, there's 2 sentences. The one tells you if you're going closer, tells you if you're going away. The good is telling you you're getting better, away from what you want. But yeah, that's about it. This is a pretty long video. Just narrator. Yeah, hopefully that was